It's Chris. All right, go live. Perfect. Okay. So I am just going to take a moment here to share this with some social media. But welcome to my channel. My name's Chris. I'm the host of a show called Comic Tropes, and every once in a while I do a live stream so that I have an opportunity to chat with everybody, to sort of brush up on maybe my penciling, or in this case inking skills. Maybe if there's extra time I can do some coloring or some zipatone. That could be fun. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming here. I'm about to share this link to a couple social media places now that I just went live. So give me a moment, bear with me. I know it's not the most exciting beginning to a show to see somebody looking down at their phone as they start a stream. But what can I do? Happy Friday the 13th. I'm live. That's pretty simple and straightforward, right? Maybe we can share some stories about what we've been reading. I just took a trip, so I could tell you a little bit about that, and can talk a little bit about Friday the 13th, which is a ridiculous series of movies that I know is not necessarily good, but I still like them. What can I say? All right, looks like we've got some people in the chat. Thanks, everybody. Let's see. Hello to Clay, Chris. Hello to my sister. Hello, Wolf, Antonio, James, Sarah, Original Butterball, Iron Shell, James Sutton. Wow, thanks so much for joining me, everybody. That means a lot. I sincerely appreciate having some folks here. Let me post this also to, I just remembered there's the Facebook group, so I'll post it there as well. And then we'll be ready to focus on this illustration. I'm going to use some pens that my sister got me for my birthday. It was my birthday a few days ago, so nice. Mr. Meme watched a Friday the 13th movie today. I approve. Hello to Moritaka. Big delay with chat, it seems. Maybe, but I think we'll manage. Happy Friday the 13th, Chris. Hope you're doing well. I am doing pretty well. Thank you so much for that. That's sincerely appreciated. What can I say? So, it was recently my birthday, and my fiance Chrissy and I decided to take a trip down to Los Angeles. I'll be honest, if my birthday was like a few weeks from today, I may have made a different choice just because of everything that's going on with the pandemic. I don't know if I would have made the same choice, but we were doing mostly outdoors things, the beach. We went to some small art galleries. There's no one else in there. That was kind of cool. And I went to a bunch of comic book shops. I can talk about that in a moment. We did go to Disney, but Disney only sold itself to 40% capacity, which meant that none of us were very crowded. I never had to deal with a wait time more than about 15 minutes for even the most popular rides. It was amazing. I didn't know what day it was till I saw your post this afternoon. It's a holiday for me. I have had Friday the 13th themed parties just to make something about it. And let's see. I've been engaged for a long time, Jared, but Chrissy's the best. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought, folks. I know I was going to talk about some of my trip, but then I was going to talk about, Friday the 13th. One time we had a party where Chrissy made Jason Voorhees mask cupcakes, and I projected one of the movies against the wall during the whole party. And then we even had a trivia at the end of the day. Excuse me, cough. And then I gave out movies as prizes, so that was kind of fun. So anyway, yeah, thank you all for joining me. I appreciate having so many people here. Did you ever read a comic or manga called Version Point One? No, never heard of that one even, to be honest. These days I am reading some manga. I'm reading Devilman by Go Nagai. It's pretty cool. It's kind of a classic. Some of the stuff that I'm drawing tonight may smear a little because I'll tell you something. It is really hot here. If it wasn't Friday the 13th, I would just be instead like relaxing in an air-conditioned room. My central AC is broken because it blew up. So that's not fun. What can you do? You deal. I'm inking tonight with these technical pens for a specific reason. Normally I do a lot of my inking with, like brush pens just because it's fun and easy. But I feel like that smooths things out a little more than I want for such like a scary guy. I want to have this like have some harsh edges and some fine detail like cross hatching, and I feel like a technical pen is going to give me that look better than something else like a brush or maybe a quill could, but I just don't feel like dealing with that in all this humidity. So yeah, I may deal with some smudging because of the humidity. What can I do? What do you like about microns? I personally use Pilot High-Tech. You know what? I just haven't played around with Pilot High-Techs. Maybe I'd like those too. What do I like about it? I would say it's fairly precise. They don't really bleed too bad. They'll split kind of easily, so I guess they don't last that long, but they're also pretty affordable, so whatever. I would say that the ink generally is close to archival quality. It can last quite a bit before it, starts fading, turning maybe like bluish. Yeah, so that's some of the stuff that's important to me about these pens. I'm close to finishing my own comic. Good for you, Wolf. That's great. I finished The Long Halloween and Dark Victory recently. It inspired me to draw Two-Face. Two-Face is an underrated villain. Who would win in a fight between Jason or Michael Myers? I would say Jason, just because he's unkillable, essentially. Like, as powerful as Michael Myers is, he's still technically human. They've never really explicitly gone supernatural with anything with him. Whereas Jason, by part 6, is a literal zombie that, essentially can't die. Some of the ways they've defeated him since part 6 include chaining him to the bottom of a lake, which didn't kill him, it just kept him tied up. Running toxic waste over him, which reverted him to a baby. Using a sacred dagger to send him literally to hell. Jason almost killed him. Freddy almost killed him. And then in the remake, he just didn't die, even though he got his head chopped up and everything and got drowned. And there was also Jason X, where he literally just couldn't die. Anyway, so yeah, if you're gonna ask me who's gonna win between Michael and Jason, I'm afraid we're gonna have to play by Jason's rules and give him the unearned win. He's not I don't know. You know what? I like the first Halloween is a great movie, and there's a couple other Halloweens that are very watchable. But overall, the quality in that series kind of dips pretty bad. I would say dips worse than the Friday the 13th films, actually, because part 5 of Halloween, that's pretty atrocious. Part 9 is pretty bad. I don't care at all for the remakes by what's his nuts, Rob Zombie. I didn't care for those at all. Hello, Horizon. Was never a slasher fan unless you count Hellraiser. I would count Hellraiser. I would love an in-depth video on Tomie. Tomie? I don't know exactly how you pronounce that one, actually. I've never tried. Or have I? Maybe I did try once. I would consider revisiting Junji Ito. I think I could probably do a better job than my first try. So I'll keep that in mind. You never know. I think horror is a slightly underserved genre in comics, and yet when horror is done halfway decently, it's been some of the most popular comics out there. The EC horror comics in the early 50s were a huge hit, huge, and Walking Dead was like just about the biggest thing in comics for ages. So when horror is done well, it definitely has an audience that extends beyond people that, like, you know, just will read anything that's horror. Just something worth thinking about. I'm not gonna lie, the Friday the 13th movies were bad, but it's enjoyable slaughter. Here's a spooky question. How do you feel about the proliferation of CG on YouTube? As a fellow comics commentator on the platform, I'm personally very supportive of diversity in comics. I'm not plugged in at all to that movement, so I really couldn't comment very much on it. Doesn't interest me at all. Ash versus series has gone on for like 15 years. Huh? I don't know what that means. Sorry, Clay. Have I ever read Tokyo Ghoul? I haven't. I've definitely seen that one in every store that carries a decent amount of manga, so I guess it must be fairly popular, but I don't really know what that one's about. Speaking of horror comics, I'm reading Rising Rachel right now. It's pretty great. You know, I've mentioned this sometimes in social media and stuff, but there was a book just over a year ago by... I'm trying to remember his pen name. Stephen King's son. Who am I thinking of? Right now it's slipping my mind. I keep thinking of the son Owen, but it's not Owen, it's his other son. He's written a bunch of novels, and he wrote this great comic called Basket Full of Heads. Oh my god, that was really good horror. That was just so well done. I cared about the characters, and it was cool. Ash vs. Evil Dead comics, where he fights Jason, Freddy, Marvel. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're just saying those Ash comics have been around. Joe Hill, thanks everybody. Just wasn't coming to me. That's a pen name, so sometimes I totally, like, it just sometimes slips my mind. So what I think I'm going to do for this Jason is actually draw a somewhat unique one that I've never tried to do before, and that is the video game version by designed by Tom Savini. Tom Savini, of course, is the special effects guru who created the look of some of the best Jasons from, like, you know, Part 1, Part 4, and he designed a new version for the Friday the 13th video game a couple years ago, which is sort of like a version that's come straight out of hell. It's pretty damn awesome, in my opinion. You know what? Before I continue inking, I was planning on putting chains around him, so I'm actually going to jump back in and pencil out that, just so that I don't accidentally cover up anything important later. Just make sure that I block that in properly, so bear with me as I just do a little bit of penciling. So yeah, I went down to LA and I had a good time. And what's related to this channel is I went to a bunch of comic book stores. I went to 4 comic book shops plus a collectibles show. So I'll talk about those for a moment. First one I hit up was called Mega City 1, as in the Judge Dredd, Mega City 1. and it was okay. They definitely had a pretty good selection of current comics. I would say it probably it didn't have a whole lot more than that. It also had a lot of tabletop games, so that's kind of cool. Good for them. Not a huge store. Just down the street from Golden Apple Comics. So if they're staying in business against Golden Apple, who's been around for a long time, they must be doing something right. So not throwing any shade at them, just saying like it was, whatever. It was a fine store. I think I got the 5th printing of Stray Dogs #1 because I've heard good things about the comic Stray Dogs from Image. Haven't had a chance to sit down and read that one yet. Next, I went just down the street to Golden Apple, and I actually interviewed the guy that runs Golden Apple during the early days of the pandemic, talking to some comic book stores about how they were dealing with the challenges facing them, in terms of like they couldn't always have customers in their stores. So I thought that was a pretty interesting interview, and I wanted to check out their shop. In addition to carrying pretty much everything that's new, some of the things I liked about Golden Apple were they had a good amount of trades, and they divided them like with a lot of different categories, so it was pretty easy to like look for what you might be interested in by category. I liked that. And then they had a good amount of back issues, although I didn't find what I was looking for. I'm specifically right now trying to find from Marvel back in like something like 1980 or something, Star Wars #1. It was written by Larry Hama. I've actually reviewed it on the channel before, but I don't have a copy right now, and I just sort of wanted a copy. It's a really ridiculous story. So that was I was looking for the following things to sort of judge a comic book store. I was seeing like what kind of new stuff they had, whether they had a trade of Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, because I've been meaning to read that, and it's not in stock too many places, but it's fairly recent, and that's mainstream. I was looking for Devilman by Go Nagai, see if they had any manga, especially classic manga. I was looking for the last couple trades of Berserk. I don't have the last couple that came out. And I was looking for that back issue of Star Wars. I felt like that was like a good range of things to potentially look for to sort of judge a comic book store on its like effectiveness. Spoiler, I didn't find any of those things at any of the stores that I went to. So maybe what I'm looking for is too obscure. I hadn't thought so, but maybe so. I got most of it later at like my local comic shop and online. Anyway, Golden Apple was pretty good. I think all I got there was like Mom, that new comic about the single mother superhero by Emilia Clarke, the lady that played Daenerys on Game of Thrones. She's writing a comic, so I picked that up. So those two were okay. And then I went to a place called House of Secrets. House of Secrets was awesome. Have I read Kirkman's Firepower? Yeah, I proofread all of Kirkman's stuff, so I've seen all of Kirkman's books. Absolutely. Hello, Lord. Happy to have a member in here. Cool badge. Thank you. House of Secrets is a fantastic store. I really dug that one. Not only did they have, like, of course, plenty of modern books, but they also had a really good selection of both back issues and like kind of indie stuff. So like, and they had like dollar bins. It was just a really cool store to explore. There was a guy there that was a viewer of the show, and he gave me a couple comics. He bought me an older issue of Avengers that was drawn by Gil Kane, because he was saying like, maybe this will inspire you to cover Gil Kane someday. I want to already. And then he gave me a trade of some Tintin issues, and I love Tintin, so that was super nice of him to surprise me like that. And I met my friend Abed, who's writing the comic Orcs in Space, which is very funny, and I do recommend it. And Abed's worked on stuff like Rick and Morty, and currently like some sort of video game that he wasn't really allowed to talk about, or at least I'm not. So that was fun. House of Secrets up in Burbank was great. What do you think of Substack? That's a cool question. It's really hard for me to understand exactly how the comics would be coming out from Substack, but you know, I'm all for trying something new to like capitalize on online readership and making comics affordable, putting those profits pretty much directly in the creators' hands, letting them keep the rights. This is all like part of what I've heard Substack is about. I definitely think it's a potential way forward to, like, you know, making comics cheaper and digestible. So we'll see how successful it is, but I love the idea. I love the idea very much. So, you know, fingers crossed. What else did I do? Oh, I went to another comic book store that I just came across. I wasn't planning on going to it, but apparently Neil Adams has his own comic book shop. I didn't expect that. As you could probably guess, it definitely has plenty of Neil Adams stuff. It had, again, like a lot of good current issues. It had an interesting section at the back of the store full of like cool art books by like really good comic book creators. You know, your Walt Simonsons and your Bill Sienkiewicz's. There was some really cool stuff mixed in there. I like that part. Their back issues like left a lot to be desired. There was only a few, and I asked about it. I was like, where are the rest of the back issues? And the clerk was super helpful, and he explained that like they do I guess they sell a bunch online. So like right now they'd pulled almost all their back issues to like a back room to just sell them online. I thought that was a little disappointing that they didn't have anything, you know, for me, the customer in the store, to look at for the most part. So that was a little disappointing, but otherwise yeah, it was interesting. Let's see. Love the Fletcher Hanks video. Oh, that's so nice to hear. There's some beautiful strangeness to be plumbed from the depths of early comics and creators. Odds on another Morrison video, maybe Invisibles or their take on Superman. I've long planned on covering All-Star Superman. I love it. There are some other videos out there, so I haven't necessarily prioritized it, but it is something I'd love to speak on. I think I'd also like to talk about Morrison's new X-Men run, which I really, really liked. Oak City Gamers, thank you so much for the super chat. That means a lot. Love your videos. Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for the support. It means a lot to me because, yeah, lately the algorithm hasn't necessarily been showing Comic Tropes videos to too many new people. It means that, like, revenue is definitely, like, way down. Fortunately, you all, I think, know I have a real job, you know, like, I have a day job, and I dream of being able to do YouTube full time, but at this point, like, I'm really not making that much revenue off of this show. Like, I used to for a while, but lately not really. So it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. The tough part is, like, in order to, like, grow Comic Tropes, I have to be able to put things out basically weekly. That's what, like, YouTube rewards, is if I could put out weekly content, and not just live streams, but like fully edited shows. But I don't have the time to do it with my full-time job, so it's really hard to figure out how to make happen, how to grow my channel more. Sounds to me like they are copying one-shot manga formula, and if the one-shot is good, they will make an ongoing about it. Yeah, I think that they are doing something like that, Lord, and I think that that makes a lot of sense. I think that that's a good idea. But we'll see. You know, I'm very curious. I would love for something new to come out in comics in terms of like distribution. I think that like that's one of the most important things we can do. Not just content. There's a lot of great content out there. There's a lot of bad content, but there's a lot of great content. It's getting it into the hands of readers at an affordable price. That's, I think, like the biggest challenge to comics right now, American comics. We'll see. I don't know if Substack is like the perfect solution. I just think that it's a step in the right direction. So I'm excited for it. Oh, hold on. What's that? Ever read GTO Great Teacher Onizuka? No, I haven't, I'm afraid. Yeah. I had the pleasure of talking to Neil Adams at a con. He was absolutely hilarious. That's awesome, Michael. Oh, so yeah, I was telling the stories that Neil Adams, I went to his store. And then the last thing I checked out was so cool. This was like some people that follow the channel on Twitter. I try to post fairly regularly on Twitter. Recommended to me that I go to a place called Frank and Son Collectibles Show. It's out in City of Industry, so it's a little further out, kind of like north of Anaheim. And oh my God, that was so awesome. I'm so glad I went there. It's honestly like going to some sort of a Comic-Con. What they've done is they've taken over an old Sam's Club, so it's a really big area in my opinion. And then there's just vendors with like booths and like aisles, and like each of the aisles has like, you know, those numbers like you'd see at a big Chicago, New York, San Diego Comic-Con. Some of them are comic books, some of them are like more like toys. You know, there's also stuff like cosplay and swords and stuff, but oh my God, there was so much cool stuff. Like, honestly, if you ever go there, you literally need right around 2 hours to properly explore it. And that's a good amount of time. So that was awesome. Oak City Gamer says he met Barry Windsor Smith once. That's so cool. I love Barry Windsor Smith. I think he's put out the best comic of 2021 so far, Monster. I think it's like the best comic I've read this year. Would it be feasible and beneficial for you to release shorter weekly vids, like 5-minute reviews of a comic or something? Actually, James, I do that. I just do it exclusively for people that are members of my YouTube channel. You can become a member for like $1.99 a month, or people on my Patreon that support it at $2 and higher. I put out I didn't do one this past week because I was on a trip, but otherwise every Friday I put out a video. It's like, it tends to be more like 15 to 20 minutes, just talking briefly about everything I read that week and what I liked or didn't like about it. So I do short reviews. I just do it as an exclusive for people that support the channel, because I've got to give them something exclusive. You know, those are the guys and gals that make what I do possible. If I wasn't making any money from this, I probably wouldn't be able to keep doing it. I'd have to just like put in more hours at work or something. As long as I'm making some money from it, you know, I got to prioritize the people that are actually paying my bills. So that's right now the exclusive content that they get. But I'll always produce the regular show for free because I know not everybody's in a position to afford to pay for, like, you know, Patreon and things like that. And I get that. I don't mind if you just watch the show. But I gotta do something that's an exclusive. I meant to say Hack Slash, the slasher comic where a girl hunts people like Jason. I've heard about that, but I've actually never read it, Alexander. I've never read that one. Would it be feasible and beneficial? Oh, I read that one. In this current state that the comic industry is in, should try to get my comic published as manga. I'm asking because I'm feeling uncertain. I really wouldn't know, Wolf. I don't know the book. I don't know like what you're trying to do with it. So it really just depends on the piece itself, like who you should approach as a publisher, or whether you should do it yourself. You know, that's an option these days. You still there, sister? Just checking. Did I ever make you watch any Friday the 13th movies, Jeannie? I don't know if I did or not. Are there any Patreons that I subscribe to? Oh, a few. Harry Partridge, the guy that did my animated opening, I subscribe to him. Who else? There's a couple comic book YouTubers. Godzilla Mendoza, he's appeared a few times in my videos as Spider-Man. Not lately. I should try to collaborate with him again. Matt Draper, I really admire what Matt Draper does for his analysis videos. So I support his Patreon. Is there anything else that's sort of comic book related? I support a couple other patrons, but I don't think any of them are comic related. Anyway, yeah, so a few. I didn't make you watch Friday the 13th. I'm such a good brother. I didn't force you to watch things that you didn't want to watch. I hope you're doing well. I miss you. I'm getting a text, one sec. Here in UK, in our biggest high street bookstores, Waterstones, they have done away with the graphic novel section, and all these now appear under the banner of manga. Oh, well, you know, it's a business decision. That's weird, but I get it. Manga sells. Lots of other movies, but not Friday the 13th. Good. I'm so good. Oh, look, apparently Marvel released an image of Oscar Isaacs as Moon Knight. I don't know for sure if this is official or not, but this is showing up online. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That looks good to me. Wow. Yeah. That's different. Is this the first time we've actually gotten a live-action superhero where the eyes are actually whited out? No, wait. Deadpool. You saw 101 patients in 10 hours? Oh my god, the patient load is going out of control in this country. I'm so sorry to hear that. More power to you for what you did. What's my favorite Moon Knight run? I love when you guys ask me these things, but sometimes they're hard to answer. What's my favorite? The one that stands out to me is the one with art by Declan Shalvey. I think that that was by Ellis as the writer. I think that one was pretty darn strong, but there were some earlier ones that were also good. That's a tough question. Thanks for challenging me with it. This version of Jason is like literally like burning bits of hellfire, almost like, say, Ghost Rider or somebody like that. So I'm just like gonna have little bits of fire coming out of him here and there. At least that's what I'm trying to portray. As to how successful I am, you be the judge. Oh, hi, you caught me being late again to your live stream. Not that late. I haven't been doing it that long. Thanks for joining. What do you folks think is good for movies that are out right now. Oh, I did see the Suicide Squad, and in terms of like whether I liked it, I've already watched it twice. Now, I have HBO Max, so both of those times I was watching it, from home. But it hasn't been out that long, and I've already watched it twice. I thought it was pretty darn good. I liked it a lot. We'll see. But yeah, it worked for me. I thought that felt very much like a real Suicide Squad story. Hello, Sam Fonseca. Nice to see another member in here. Thank you. Greg Smallwood was the artist for Brian Wood's run. Oh, Greg Smallwood, man. That's an artist whose art really appeals to me. So, yeah, I did like that. Green Knight is awesome. I saw Green Knight. Loved it. Loved it. Have I read Jonathan Adams' Truth Serum? No. Is that a comic or a book? I don't know it. Anthony Bourdain documentary. I've heard that's good. Suicide Squad, saw Black Widow. It was okay. Jungle Cruise, In the Heights. I don't know. Jungle Cruise is something I'm like curious about mainly because of The Rock. Like maybe I'll get around to that one. I don't know. What did you think of it? Just because you saw it doesn't necessarily mean you liked it. Have I seen the MCU gore leak? No. And in fact, that one I'd rather be surprised by, so I don't go out looking for big leaks. What did you think of the What If show? Oh, in terms of the animation, I thought What If looked gorgeous, and certain character designs were a little stronger than others, I will say that. Like, little Steve Rogers looked great. Peggy Carter definitely looked great. Bucky kind of looked a little generic. He didn't like stand out too much. I don't know if that's the animation doesn't suit it or just, they didn't put as much effort into him on this. Red Skull looked great. Good voice acting. The sound-alikes they got for people like, Steve Rogers and Red Skull were perfect. So no complaints there. The story itself, though, was just sort of like, it was kind of the same as Captain America the First Avenger, just with different people in the role, which sometimes is what If is, but sometimes like What If just takes stories in really unexpected directions where things break down and go crazy, and that didn't quite happen with this story. So I was like hoping for a little more chaos. I also started to think like towards the end of it, like they end it with like I don't know if I should even say it because some of you haven't seen it yet. I don't want to spoil it. Okay, I won't say how it ends because just in case, I don't want to spoil anything. All I will say is there's a part of me that suspects some of the characters in some of the alternate realities of What If could show up in live action. I don't know whether that could be Loki season 2 or a future movie like Doctor Strange, where they're going into the multiverse. But I really do think that some of those characters that they're introducing in this animation, I think could show up in live action as sort of like smaller supporting characters. I think that they'll bring some of the actors back to play variations. I feel like a lot of people are dismissing What If due to it being animated. Oh, if that's the case, I think that they're missing out. I think it's the perfect type of thing for animation because you can go a little further than you might be able to in live action. Then again, I mean, Marvel seems to have an unlimited budget when they make their stuff. But no, I think that it works quite well. I think that it's good animation, and you've got great voice acting, so I see no reason to miss it. It's good. It's worth seeing. I'm looking very, very forward to seeing Chadwick Boseman. Apparently he'll be in several episodes, so that'll be nice to see him in the MCU one more time, or a couple more times. What's your opinion on the Young Avengers and the MCU slowly bringing in the members? Yeah, I think that they're definitely setting things up for potential Young Avengers and maybe even Dark Avengers movies. I also wouldn't be surprised if they made something along the lines of, a Mighty Avengers or a Secret Avengers teams. I don't think that they'll just do plain Avengers again, because they did sort of wrap up the stories of Iron Man and Steve Rogers, Captain America. I think that we'll see other characters form types of Avengers teams, but I think that they'll name them like the comics, like to differentiate it and stuff. That's my suspicion. Let's see. Rumor has it that they will have Agent Carter in live action for Doctor Strange, but I didn't hear that rumor, but that would be cool. Let's get back to roughing in some more details here. Anybody planning on going to Free Comic Book Day tomorrow? I'm curious about that. Like, are you planning on participating, like, going to your local comic book shop? And if so, are you only planning on getting, some free books real quick? Or are you planning on maybe picking some other stuff up to support them? Or, like, what are your plans? Because I would love to go. I have to work, but anyway. This Jason is 2-tier. I don't know what that means. I'm not up on the latest lingo. I don't know if that's a compliment or a total diss. Either way, I guess I can take it, but I don't know. Nice drawing. That's kind of you. Looking to pick up King Spawn #1. I bet that'll do very, very well. I think King Spawn will sell well. What did I do here? I don't even understand my own drawing here. I gotta redo these chains real quick in pencil so that I understand what I'm trying to draw. Top tier. Oh, top tier. I thought 2-tier meant like I don't know. I hear a lot of new slang because a lot of my coworkers are younger than me, and they use words that I don't always know, which is kind of fun. But yeah. Thank you for explaining that. Yeah, it's pretty nasty out there, I agree. Will I be reading King Spawn? I don't know, maybe. I wonder if it's a good jumping on point, because I haven't kept up with Spawn in a long time. I told Todd that when I interviewed him. I was like, yeah, I haven't read Spawn in a long time. What's going on with it? And told me, he was planning all these spin-offs, and I was like, well, that sounds different and cool. Like, more power to you. Bear with me, I'm just doing some fine inking here to make sure I don't make a mistake, and I'll be right back with everybody. Yeah, okay. Is that new Spawn movie still happening? Todd said it was when I talked to him, but I don't know, man. It's hard to know. I'm going to multiple comic book stores for Free Comic Book Day, and one of them's doing buy one, get one free new comics. Oh, wow. That sounds like quite a deal. Go for it. Yeah, in terms of stuff I would recommend that's out there right now, I think Immortal Hulk is fantastic. So if you've never read that, pick up some trades of that. I'd also recommend Monster by Barry Windsor Smith. That was pretty spectacular. I think Usagi Yojimbo's been good lately if you've never read that. What else is good? I'm just trying to think, though, of more like stuff that's recent as compared to just saying like, oh, if you've never read Watchmen, read it. What's more recent than that? It's not as recent, but I'd say like Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, and Beta Ray Bill, both by Daniel Warren Johnson, are pretty fantastic books. So, strong recommend there. Rumor is Todd will put out some merchandise for Spawn and try to get funds for the film. Well, I hope he does. I'd love... You know what? I'm always curious to see something new from Todd McFarlane, because I would say he never really half-asses anything. If he's going to do something, he's going to make a splash. You know, he's a natural marketer. He's a natural promoter. I mean, Rob Liefeld is too. I just tend to like the stuff by Todd a lot more. Will I use my watercolor pens on this? Probably not on this, Gene. I want to explore, sort of practice on those with something less finished first, so that I can sort of see how they react. And I don't really know what to expect right now. This is sort of practice too, but I really want to see like more of what they do before I use them on something this finished. I just want to like, you know, and I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Aside from the trip, I've just been working. But I got a really good response to the latest video on Fletcher Hanks. A lot of people were like, never heard of this guy, but that was like one of the most entertaining episodes ever. Like, I sincerely heard a lot of great response like that, and that made me feel really good. Oh, Steve Sorensen with a super chat. Thank you for that. Maybe you answered this already, but what is your favorite Friday the 13th? Also, happy Free Comic Book Day. Other than that, stay cool. Oh my god, I am sweating to death. So if I look gross, I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, let's see. My favorite is definitely Part 4, and then Part 6 is also really close. A lot of people like Part 6 more. I would say that the humor in it is pretty good, and it's cool because that's something different at that point. But I would say that I want it to still be a little scarier than funny. And 6 just sort of goes just beyond like that. But it's still my second favorite. So I'd go like 4 and 6 are like, you know, right up at the top. I think Part 2 is excellent. I think that after that, I like the Versus Jason a lot. Let's see. Do I think the Substack move will culminate in something as big as the Image Revolution back in the 90s? The reason it could is that it's got a lot of top-tier names signed to it. However, I don't believe any of them are exclusive, so like you could still get their stuff at Marvel and DC and Image. If it was exclusive, then maybe it could make that kind of a wave. I do think it will prove to us how something could work with like sort of crowd-funded online comics, like a proof of concept. So I'm very curious to see how it goes. Ever watch Evil Dead? I love Evil Dead. Evil Dead is fantastic. That's one I made my sister watch, right, Gene? We definitely watched the Evil Dead movies together. She's a pretty good sister, folks. She definitely like went to a lot of comic book stores and watched some horror movies that probably did not especially interest her, but she made an effort to do some of the things that her brother liked to do. So I know that I have a good sister. Probably the best sister. Probably. I don't want to like inflate her ego too much. What indie comics do you think can blow up in popularity as movies or shows? Blow up in popularity? Is there anything out there that hasn't really been used that could blow up in popularity? Everything I think of keeps, like, the closest I can come up with off the top of my head is all sort of more like Image or manga, which really isn't indie. Oh, I know one that's older that like could blow up if they ever adapt Bone into like a really well animated series and do that well. I think that could be huge. No, I've never seen the Evil Dead musical, I'm afraid. That's interesting. He made me watch that multiple times. We had it all memorized. Yeah. I'm reading a graphic novel called All Summer Long by Hope Larson. I personally think it's pretty cute and funny. Hope Larson's great. I've read some of her stuff. I think I even, if I'm remembering right, met her at one of the Small Press Expo conventions. I'm pretty sure I did. But it's been a while since I went to those, so I'm having trouble remembering for sure if it was Hope or somebody else. I believe I also met Raina Telgemeier before she was sort of like the unstoppable force that she is now. I'll tell you guys, like, if you want to know, like, the most popular comics these days, the ones that I'm stunned haven't been adapted, it's like, why hasn't Dogman been adapted into a movie? Why hasn't Guts been adapted into a movie? Because those things are selling many millions of copies. Millions. Hello. Bone is being adapted. I think it is being adapted by Netflix. I just haven't really heard an update in quite a while. But maybe they're doing a good job, so it takes a while. I wish Scott Pilgrim was animated into a show. Oh, that could be fun. Yeah, I think that could work really well. Scott Pilgrim could definitely stand another adaptation. And you know what? If it was a show, they could probably like take a little more time with it, because there's a lot to Scott Pilgrim. Like, that was a super fast movie adaptation. I love Edgar Wright, but that was a pretty condensed version of the story. Oh, Steve Sorensen with another super chat. I love super chats. I love them. Let's see. More fun here. I am curious. What is your favorite so bad it's good horror movie? Gotta give you $5, man. I love these streams. Well, I love money. So bad it's good. There's so many. You know, I sit through like the Saw movies and the Friday the 13th movies. But what's one that's so bad it's good? I probably owned some. Let me think. What's so bad it's good? My mind goes to the opposite place. As soon as you ask me like what's so bad it's good, I start thinking of good movies like Jaws, The Shining, Eraserhead, and I'm like, no, brain, think of like some bad, dumb ones that are still entertaining. Leprechaun? No, I hate the Leprechaun movie. Well, I don't hate them, but I don't really like it. What's the difference between joining your YouTube channel and joining your Patreon? Basically, you get the same $2 videos that I do, like where I review comics, but on Patreon, I also do blog posts pretty regularly just to tell people where I'm at and like what I'm working on and my thoughts on things. So I do think you get a little bit more on Patreon. They give me a few more tools so that I can offer things like that. It's not a huge difference for me in terms of like the money that I bring in. from one versus the other. Patreon's tools are a little easier to utilize. Crow. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to the comic shop and was considering picking up Reckless. Reckless is so good. Wondering what you think is worth picking up. Am I a big David Lynch fan? I definitely am. Yeah, I definitely am. What else is worth picking up? I mean, I was just talking through some of the things that I recommend, but does anybody else have recommendations out of like stuff that's out right now? Like help prompt my memory. I think Skybound X was pretty fun. That was like the recent weekly anthology series celebrating 10 years of Kirkman's imprint. I think that they had some pretty fun stuff going on. I don't know. What else was good? Damn. I'm blanking. I don't know what else I can recommend right now off the top of my head. Sorry. I would love a Twin Peaks comic series. Could be cool. Could be cool. So Bad It's Good, Troll 2. Yeah, I guess that is technically a horror movie. You're right. Like, and that is pretty damn entertaining. Troll 2, you should watch, and then you should watch the documentary, like, Best Worst Movie. Like, that's a good combo of entertainment. It's a documentary about the people that made that movie and, like, how they thought they were making something good. They made something really, really, really terrible. All Tomorrows? I don't know All Tomorrows. Horizon Brave recommends the Milestone comics. I'd be curious to read those. Would you like a Man Children of the Atom comic book? It's pretty good. Tell me. A Man Children of the Atom. Do you mean X-Men Children of the Atom? Was that like a typo maybe? Hello, Harles. Thanks for dropping in. Lord recommends Yojimbot. That's cool. Appreciate the recommend. I mean, recommend a book. Would you recommend... I mean, I'm blanking on any good recommendations. I guess I'll just leave it at that. Have I read Scott McCloud's Zot? You know what? I haven't, and I probably should, because obviously Scott McCloud knows what makes comics work, so maybe his fictional stories are awesome. I sort of have always meant to, but I haven't gotten around to it. If you want to understand comics, there's this book called Understanding Comics, and I would strongly recommend it. Strongly. It's pretty special. A comic book explaining how comics work. This is Tom Savini, Jason. Yeah, exactly right. I'm trying to draw the Tom Savini version of Jason. Who's sort of like, cast out of hell. Oh, look, another super chat. A-Man1998 says, "Hello, Chris. Can't stay for long, but I want to ask, are there any mangas that are out of print but could be reprinted? For me, it's I Am a Hero." Yeah, it would be nice to see some stuff like, at least it's not easy to find, but Crying Freeman, City Hunter, those would both be interesting to view again. What else? Probably tons of stuff that I just don't know. I was about to say Lone Wolf and Cub, but I think Dark Horse does keep that in print these days. And there's a good publisher worth looking up these days, 7 Seas. They've done a lot of good sort of like reprints of some important manga. So, yeah. Do you ever use brushes or just stick with the microns? Actually, usually I use brushes. Today I was specifically drawing with these microns to give things a little bit of a harder edge, like a nice hard line. So that's very intentional, the tools that I chose for today. I'm working on my own comic right now. Good. Make it. Would you make an episode about the history of comic book? And can you also tell me what you think about the Children of Atom? The history of comic book? I don't know Children of Atom. I don't know that. I don't know what Children of Atom is. GTO is out of print? Somebody mentioned Alan Moore just now, and has anyone seen his movie, the show? I'm very curious about it. You know, he's done with comics, but he writes good stories, so I want to see what he does next. I don't know if he understands other mediums as well as he understood how to make comics work, but I'm curious to find out. An X-Men new comic about new characters. Oh, really? Yeah, I don't really keep too up to date with X-Men right now. The last thing that I was really invested in was not that long ago, but I liked House of X, Powers of 10 by Hickman. Had a lot of promise, but then Hickman's individual X-Men comic just didn't seem... It seemed to like all be building, but not really going anywhere. So I don't know. I've heard that some of the other books that launched out of that, like Marauders, were better, but I didn't read any of those, so I'm not too plugged into X-Men right now. Maybe someday down the road I'll catch up, understand what I missed, but right now I'm not an expert there. From Hell is his best comic. From Hell is Alan. I could totally understand how some people would like From Hell as Alan Moore's best book. I think for me, V for Vendetta might work best. I think that might be my favorite Alan Moore comic, V for Vendetta. They made Gambit a black woman? I don't get it. I guess that's a joke. Because I don't think that they did that. I'm pretty sure I would have read about that. So I guess it's a joke. I don't get it. I don't get the joke, though. What are the chances of Wanda and Quicksilver being children of Magneto again? Probably kind of small. I mean... We can say that they were raised by him, so like that isn't like, you know, undone. It's just that I don't think they're gonna retcon things again. I really don't. It's just not worth it at this point. People just don't want to touch it. I remember reading webcomics back in the day, like Dr. McNinja and Freak Angels. Awesome. Dr. McNinja's very, very funny. I approve. I was blown away by Alan Moore's hypothesis on Jack the Ripper being responsible for modern media. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Faux show. The new character took known character codename. The new character... I don't know what that means. Let's see. The Wanda Pietro retcon was ridiculous. It felt like Disney did that because they didn't have the rights to mutants at that point, right? Isn't that what it felt like? But whatever the case, whatever the reason, you know, they've said, like, no, they were not mutants. And to be fair, like, Wanda and Pietro have always had a really convoluted origin story, believe it or not. Like, they were not simply introduced as Magneto's children. They were introduced working for the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but they were not explained to be his children for a long time. They had a weird origin tied to being the children of some Golden Age superheroes, and they were, like, raised in the mountains of Wundagore by a cow woman. The High Evolutionary was involved. They eventually also involved eventually they said, like, no, Magneto's actually your father, and that was a huge retcon at the time, and it just, like, stayed around even though they didn't really have a relationship. Wanda and Quicksilver are really good characters, but their actual sort of origins are a total mess and always have been. It's nothing new. Marvel has never had a consistent story on them for any length of time. So whatever you know is like what you grew up with, and that's fine. But those characters have always been a mess. They always have been, like, for the background. How's the health? Health is good. I've lost some weight. I'm eating super healthy. I'm giving some real strong thought to maybe adopting a dog so that I can have an excuse to take it out for regular walks. That's something I think I'd really like to do these days. Like, I just find walks boring, but, like, if I could go with a little buddy, I think that would be, like, something I'd really enjoy. So we'll see. Something I'm giving some serious thought to, but adopting a pet is a big deal, so I'm not making it super fast. You know, I'm giving it some real thought, like, you know, to the impact, and could I take good care of it and, like, give it the love and attention that it needs. So something I'm giving some thought to. Just today, I was thinking, you know what? I think I like beagles. I don't know. I gotta read up some more on them. Good characters with messy origins makes me think of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Yeah, there's some characters that just, like, have really confusing. Spider-Woman has a really messy origin too. She's a mess. What else? Hi, sir. I just want to say I loved that Fletcher Hanks video. Aw, thanks, Scrotor. It's right up there with the comic lettering video. Fun and informative. Oh, wow. That really means a lot. Thank you so much. I'm really proud of the comic lettering video, so that means a lot that, like, you'd compare it to that. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. A video on confusing comic retcons would be interesting. Maybe. I could, like, come up with a good handful. Retcons, like, boy, what a superhero thing, you know? Like, you don't get retcons too much on, like, a creator-owned comic, or you might get it sometimes on TV, but not a lot. But sometimes, I guess. Am I alone in thinking that, like, Suicide Squad was really awesome, by the way? I didn't hear much feedback. Like, I loved it. I really did. That's why I watched it twice, like, almost in a row. But I'm curious, like, if anybody else enjoyed it like that, or if it was more just that was a comic movie that was made for Chris. James Bond retcon itself every 2 decades. Not really, though. they kept the same continuity for like all the actors up until Daniel Craig. They didn't always refer to it like specifically or anything. It was kind of a loose continuity, but they never retconned any of it. Like they never said that anything didn't happen or happened differently than we expected. They just sort of said like, yeah, this one guy has been through all these adventures, and they'd like every once in a while have specific references that made that explicit, you know, like that he was married, or you know, that he went up against this guy or that guy, or he'd been to a certain area. I don't know. I love James Bond though. I love James Bond. For some reason those action movies always work for me. There's definitely some that aren't as good as others. Die Another Day. Lost had a retcon every 3 episodes. Lost was a little messy. That's true. That's true. James Bond is a codename for various agents. I've heard that theory, but I mean, they make it pretty explicit that, like, you know, for instance, like, Roger Moore goes to Tracy's grave. Tracy was the one that George Lazenby married, and in the next movie after George Lazenby, like, Sean Connery is going for revenge against Blofeld because of what happened. So, I mean, I feel like they all, and there was even a reference to Tracy in one of the Timothy Dalton movies. So I feel like that was all meant to be the same character. That's my headcanon, is that, like, you know, maybe the timeline shifts, but so does the timeline for all the superheroes, right? Like, you know, Spider-Man hasn't been fighting crime since 1963 or whatever. Doctor Who. Yeah, Doctor Who does sort of retcon things sometimes. That's true. But they don't, like, sit around and pour over the details, like, for ages, though. So it's like, just like, yeah, no, it's like this. Oh, okay. I don't know if Pierce Brosnan is underrated. His movies made a heck of a lot of money. Heck. Yeah, I said it. I'll say heck. Nobody can stop me. Ratcatcher wound up being my my favorite second to Polka Dot Man. Yeah, I know, right? Like, weren't they like likable? I even also liked that version of King Shark, and I've liked a lot of versions of King Shark. I thought that the Flash at least made him like big and scary and cool looking. I thought, like the TV show, I mean, and I thought that the version on the Harley Quinn animated show, voiced by Ron Funches, is like hilarious. That might be my favorite King Shark. But the one in the Suicide Squad was great. Wow, Nicholas Brush, thank you so much for that super chat, saying, "I've missed your streams, Chris. So good to see you inking the best horror killer." Nice. Doesn't Marvel 616 time move slower than our time, but their decades still go by at our pace? Nah, it's nothing so specific as that. It's all just real loose. It's all real loose as to, like, exactly what happens. And time doesn't, like, follow very orderly. Like, you know, Franklin Richards has gone from, you know, not even being alive to basically being, like, you know, a preteen. Kitty Pryde has gone from being, like, super young to being, like, an adult. But then Spider-Man or Cyclops, like, they haven't grown up that much. They're constantly sort of, like, being put in their 20s, not even their 30s. So yeah, I don't know, like, for the most part, like, the timeline in superhero comics doesn't make a lot of sense. What's your opinion on Modok on Hulu? My opinion is I don't have Hulu, so I haven't been able to see it. It looked funny from the previews, but I don't know if it's actually good. I'll always give Patton Oswalt a chance. I think that guy's hilarious. He's like one of my favorite stand-ups, so I would give it a chance if I had Hulu, but I don't. Yeah, if a kid isn't too important in the Marvel universe, they don't really age. Like the Power Pack kids haven't really aged, but like some others have. Yeah, I thought the Suicide Squad was great. My favorite mutant, Artie Maddox, seems to just never grow up. Him and Leech seem to have de-aged since their first appearances. It's true. Like, you just can't... You can't think about it too much because it's just not important. It's not important to the story, so it's best not to think about it. There's no way to like literally square that circle of what's going on. I remember Spider-Man asking Franklin Richards to put his 15-year-old daughter down. I don't remember that. Ever since reading Grant Morrison's comment about who changes the tires on the Batmobile, I've learned to stop asking those kinds of questions. Exactly. You just can't think too much about, like, you have to think about the emotional sincerity of a story, the logistics of story structure, but the continuity, or how could this actually happen in the real world, it will break down at a certain point, or you'll create a very convoluted logic to make it make sense, but I don't know if that's really time well spent. James, thank you so much for that super chat. That means a lot to me. That means a lot. Archer has been a junior in high school since the 40s. Yeah, well, he's just stayed the same age, exactly. No, I haven't seen the reports about Substack supporting transphobia. I'll have to look into that. If that's true, that would be like, that would probably end Substack before it began. I don't know where those rumors started or what they're about, though, so can't comment on it. Sounds serious. Not ignoring it. Boy, you guys always ask like tough questions. I go to like a lot of chats and they just like talk about things that they like and ask like, do you like that too? Or what's your favorite ice cream flavor? People like asking me like all sorts of political questions. It's tough. It's okay. It's just tough. Mike Mignola has said The Bride of Frankenstein is a favorite. It's one of mine as well. What's your favorite Universal horror monster? As far as like actual look, I would say Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, what an amazing, amazing costume, especially for its time. But it still holds up as looking just dope. It's amazing. In terms of like just a good story, I really like Dracula and I really like Frankenstein, so I'm trying to think if I like one of them more than the other. I think I like the movie Dracula a little bit more, but the character of Frankenstein is pretty interesting, so that's a tough call. That opinion could change depending on the day you ask. I really want to see Chris Ink Dino Riders pencils. Yeah, I'll get right on that. I did have a Dino Riders comic, but it came like out of buying a pack of 100 like random comics, which was honestly like a fantastic way to be introduced to comics. Like one Christmas, my parents had just gotten me a bag of 100 random comics. They used to sell stuff like that at like convenience stores. And so I read all sorts of amazing different comics, and some not so amazing. One of them was Dino Riders. I have to admit, I don't really remember it very well. I do remember the commercials a little bit. They went, "Harness the power, Dino Riders." I'm very proud to remember that. Oh my god, it's so hot here, folks. I don't know if I told this or not, but I have central air, but my unit literally exploded, and I can't afford to replace it right now, so Chrissy and I are sans air conditioning. Oh, and today got up to 98. So that wasn't fun. How do the Spider-Men grip walls through their shoes? Well, it depends on the Spider-Man. Peter Parker's Spider-Man does not have stickiness or anything. He literally creates an electromagnetic charge that makes him cling to things. So that can actually go through some layers of clothing, including if he concentrates shoes. So he doesn't really need to stick. But that's the one that I know the best, so I can't really speak to some of the others, like Spider-Gwen or Miles Morales. I don't necessarily know if their powers are quite the same for sticking to walls. But you know what else? Best not to think about it. Jake Johnson is my favorite Spider-Man. Oh my god, wasn't he so likable? Like a Spider-Man sort of down on his luck, but that still wanted to do the right thing. I mean, in a lot of ways, that's like the Spider-Man. I loved Into the Spider-Verse. I think it really must be my favorite Spider-Man movie because it was just so well done. So good. If you haven't seen it yet for any reason, like, I strongly recommend it. For whatever that's worth. Probably worth a little bit since you probably watch my show. But anyway, yeah. It really was a good movie. Totally. 98 as a high. I mean, hot is relative, but it gets to the triple digits as an average temperature in the summer here. Well, I don't envy you that. That doesn't sound pleasant to me. I don't like that. Yeah. 98 is... It's too sticky. You know, it makes it harder to draw. The paper gets kind of... just a little bit sticky, so it's easier to mess up. I don't like that. I don't like that. Into the Spider-Verse and Marvel's Spider-Man PS4 honestly revitalized my passion for the character after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 left me feeling empty. I felt the same way. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a big disappointment. I did not really care for it. And I do like Andrew Garfield as an actor. Those movies just didn't work for me very well. Didn't care for them. Wish I did in a way, but I didn't. Hope you're having a good day. Did you see Casually Comics made it to 100,000 subs? No, but I also have to admit I'm not familiar with Casually Comics. I don't know who that is or what they tend to do on their channel, I'm afraid. So, call me ignorant. That's obviously a huge milestone to hit 100,000. Like, not that many channels do it in the scheme of things compared to... Obviously, a lot more try that don't make it there. So that's a huge accomplishment. Someone says she has a great channel. Oh, it's a she. I didn't even know that. Sorry. That's good. That's good. Emma Stone is the best thing to ever happen to Gwen Stacy. Oh, Chow, you watched Friday the 13th Part 2. That's a good one. That one has like one of the best kills, which is like the machete to the face of the guy in the wheelchair. It's just so brutal. What profession in comics deserves more respect? Oh my god, like, where do you even begin on something like that? They all do. I would say the one that seems to get maybe the least respect, this is hard to say for sure, but possibly the letterer. But inker and colorist also don't get the full props that they deserve. I mean, the illustrator is the face of everything, and then the writer is the one that, like, you know crafted a story that you like. So like they definitely get like the most attention. But in American comics, with like a bunch of people working on them, not everybody gets the full credit that they're due. Whoa, oh, hold on, I got 2 super chats in a row. Let me go up. Love the show. Thank you, John. What Alan Moore series would you recommend for someone who's only read Watchmen? Personally, I was saying earlier, my favorite story is V for Vendetta. Some people were saying that their favorite is From Hell. So I definitely think that those are 2 that you should start with. If you like superheroes, though, man, his Swamp Thing run is like a good middle ground. You know, it's got some superhero stuff, but it's also like, it's distinctly Alan Moore. So I would definitely like, those are my top 3. Hope you're keeping cool this summer, Chris. I wish I was. Thank you for the super chat, Magicant. Yeah, not really. Are there any actors or celebrities that you would love to meet? No, not really. It's not that important to me. There's some creators that I would love to interview for the show. I'd love to talk to Bill Sienkiewicz, Larry Hama. I'd love to talk to some more modern writers, maybe your Chip Zdarsky's or something, but meat, not as important to me. Not a big deal. Hold on, Magicant just sent another super chat. Forgot to ask, would you ever be interested in doing a video about Steve Purcell's Sam and Max? I would be. I think that there is stuff to say about it, and I have been asked before. I think that it does make sense to potentially do a video on. I don't have immediate plans to do that, if I'm being honest, but it's definitely, I've got so many things in the idea folder, and that's definitely one that I've seriously considered. I'm sort of always working on different stages of several videos, so it's definitely something that I'm keeping my eye on in terms of like, how would I approach this? What would my angle be? Because I really try not to just say, here's a creator, this is everything they did, and this is like the thing I like the most. No, I don't want to do it that simple. I really want to like have an angle and say like, why did they approach it this way? Or what makes this person unique or interesting, like compared to something else? So sometimes that takes quite a while for me to find that angle, find a reason to do something that may have even been covered before, like what's my specific take on it, which is also a part of why I don't watch a whole lot of other comic book related YouTube channels. Somebody just asked, did I know about Casually Comics? And the reason I don't is I don't want to get influenced or have my opinion influenced. So there's not many others that I watch a lot of, if that makes sense. I recently bought a digital copy of Alan Moore's Miracle Man. I'm excited to read it. It's good. It's really cool. What's your favorite design of Jason? And have I seen the Never Hike Alone fan films? I have seen the fan films. They're quite well done. My favorite overall look for Jason is probably Part 7, New Blood, because he really shows the wear and tear from each of the previous movies. I think it was like the best overall looking design for Jason. Yeah, yeah, I'll stick with that. I passed Nicolas Cage on the street one time. We nodded at each other. Oh, just to be clear, I've met a lot of people that are celebrities. I've met, geez, so many. Bruce Willis, Dolph Lundgren. Those are just like some actors. Who else have I met? A ton of people, actually, when I was doing I did an interview show on a podcast for a number of years. George R. R. Martin, Stan Lee, the guys who made Lost, the guys who made Game of Thrones, various actors like Sam Witwer from like various sci-fi channel type shows, like in person I'm talking. What else? Lots of comic book people at different conventions and stuff like that. Muhammad Ali, Bruce Jenner. I don't know, man. It all blends together. I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of... Ari Lehman was autographing today. Ari Lehman was the guy who played little kid Jason at the very tail end of the first Friday the 13th movies. Where can I find this podcast? I don't think it's up anymore, Clay. I haven't done it in a long time, and I don't think anyone's hosting it anymore. Your interview with Kirkman made me realize how important lettering is. I don't know if we talked about it, Kirkman and I, but he used to do the lettering for his early comics, like Battle Pope and stuff. He did all the lettering on that himself. So Robert has a lot of respect for what letterers do. Sorry, I got quiet there as I drew a little something. What were we just talking about? It slipped my mind. I used to go to the summer camp where Friday the 13th was filmed. The first movie? That's cool. That's cool. Camp Nobi Bosco. Nobi Bosco. I didn't know that. I wish I could have gotten the chance to meet Stan at a con before he passed. Yeah. I got to interview him once, and I got to meet him, like, for a photo once. I'm glad I got to. It meant a lot. I wish I could have met Jack Kirby. I wish I was more into comics when he was still alive. Like, I was still sort of just getting into them, and that would have meant a lot to have met him. I came so close to meeting Will Eisner. He was supposed to be a speaker at a small press expo, the first one I ever went to. And at the last minute, he had to bow out because he wasn't feeling too well health-wise, and he passed away shortly after that. So, yeah, it's not like anything I could have really changed, but I do wish I'd been able to meet him. I went to the Frank Frazetta Museum once, and unfortunately Frank wasn't feeling well enough to come down to the museum. I did get to meet his wife and get to, like, ask her about, like, their life and who Frank was and how he approached work and stuff, and that was really interesting stuff. But I didn't get to meet him. Like, came so close both times to meeting, like, huge titans in the field. So that's sort of... It can't really be a regret because it's, like, out of my hands. It's not like I could say, like, oh, if only I did this differently. So it's not a regret, but it is disappointing that I was so close to getting to meet two people that I really admired and it fell through. So that kind of sucks, but, it is what it is. I remember I met James O'Barr and had him sign some fan art I drew of the Crow. I really want to meet him again for advice on comics. Oh, now you've reminded me of other people. I've met Bruce Campbell. I met Hulk Hogan. Rob Van Dam. And this is just like, those are like at Mick Foley. And the wrestlers, none of them were at like a wrestling show or anything. Like they were either at airports or for Mick Foley, a book signing. Glad I went and did that. Got to meet Mick Foley. I like Mick Foley. Seems like a nice guy, even though he does really nutty things. I would love to meet some of my favorite like manga creators that are still around, and you know, like a guy like Naoki Urasawa. Like, oh my god, if I could like interview him, that would be a dream. I don't think I speak well enough. Yeah, I know I don't. I don't speak Japanese well enough to conduct the interview myself, though. So, but if I ever get to a point where I feel like I can, that would be something I'd try hard for. To get to interview somebody like that on a show would really be a dream come true. That would mean a lot to me. All right, I'll take a look at the questions in 2 seconds, just sort of focusing on a little bit of hatching here. All right, let's see. Met Matt Hoffman in an elevator. I don't think I know Matt Hoffman. I only met Leatherface, Doug Bradley, Norman Reedus, and Stuart Gordon. That's cool. I always wanted to meet H.R. Giger, but that was really impossible. Yeah. Do you ever ink with a brush at all? Honestly, most of my live streams I do ink with brushes, like maybe a Tombow or maybe like a Pigma. I like those a lot, but like an actual brush, a lot less frequently. Seeing if I had one handy. I have most of my tools here. I've got like, you know, some ink. Oh no, that's not my good ink. Ha! That's my crappy ink. This is my good ink. So I've got my good ink, but I don't know where I put my brush. I put it to the side, and I don't know where I put it exactly. Sorry. Darn it. It's very time-consuming. It gives a great result, but it's very time-consuming. I'm not very good at it. So I do it for fun sometimes, but it's probably... I've always felt it would be less interesting on a live stream to watch me do certain things because of how long it takes me to do them. I hope that makes sense. I got to meet Carmine Infantino at my first convention. He was very kind, and he didn't mind the 12-year-old me had mispronounced his last name. I remember gushing to him about Flash 123. That's a great person to have met. Congratulations. That's awesome. Have I read Satoshi Kon's Opus? I'll try to keep that in the back of my mind. I've met Frank Miller, Care Bear. When I met him, which was early 2000s, he was actually a really articulate, creative guy who really impressed me. I think he sort of like lost it for a while there, and I don't think he was too healthy. But he sort of walked back some of his statements, saying like that, like, you know, he's not taking back what he said, but that like the person he is today, he wouldn't say the same things as like what he was saying for a while there. And I sort of take that to mean like he wasn't healthy and he wasn't as thoughtful and articulate as I think he would like to be for a while there. I don't know exactly what was going on with him, but I mean, you could just look at Frank Miller for a while and see that something bad was going on health-wise, and I'm still not really clear on exactly what that could have been. But he doesn't look like the same guy, and it like happened almost overnight. He went from like looking like a fairly young guy to like looking pretty old. Watching you fill blacks with small microns, I think, takes longer. Well, maybe. A pal of mine gave Frank Miller $50 for a sketch, and he drew a bat symbol in 2 seconds. I have a very simple sketch from Frank as well of like just Batman's profile, and I think I paid something similar. Now that I've sort of inked most of this Jason to where I want him to be, I think what I will do is erase some of my pencil marks, so like where I outlined it, just to clean it up and see what still needs to be addressed. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you've got the underdrawing there. You can't like quite tell what needs more work and what needs to go. That's what I've got my trusty kneaded eraser for. Yeah, I think he is doing better now. It's no one thing that he said, Aldi, Frank Miller did. Right after 9/11, though, he made that comic Holy Terror, which is very Islamophobic, like, very knee-jerk reaction. Nobody seems to really like that comic. I'm serious. Like, that does not seem like anyone has given it, like, a great glowing review or said, like, this is the Frank Miller I want to see more of. And then he was saying things like, you know, like, Wall Street protesters and stuff. He was, like, mad at them, and it's like, come on, man, what are you trying to support? Like, big banks and stuff? That doesn't make sense compared to, like, you know, what we've always read from you. I mean, Dark Knight Returns, like, is satirizing, like, Ronald Reagan, and, you know, Batman's going around breaking guns in his hands, like, and then, like, all of a sudden, Frank's saying things that are very sort of opposite of everything we've always read from him. It was very confusing. What are people excited about for Free Comic Book Day, if anything? Like, have you seen the list of Free Comic Book Day books, and is there any that you're especially trying to pick up from your shop or anything like that? I'm curious. I don't know that I really even know exactly what's coming out. I should be working tomorrow, so I don't think I'll be able to attend, possibly like real late in the day, but I don't know if there's even going to be anything really left at that point. If there's anything like special that's coming out. Vaughn Bodie would have had been another artist I would have loved to drink and just talk. Oh, sure. Free Comic Book Day? Yeah, it's tomorrow. I used to go to like several comic book stores in a day for Free Comic Book Day just to sort of like see what different promotions the stores would do, like to sort of bring customers in and make it fun for people. It felt like it was almost like a holiday or something, you know? I mean, just a day all about comics. It's awesome. Oh, here's another like comic book day thing. Has anyone ever done 24-hour comic book day? Like, you know, I've done it twice, and it's a challenge. But a great one. Oh my God, I wish I had the time to commit to doing something like that again. Maybe someday. If I ever, for any reason, get to do this full time, I will totally do like a 24-hour comic book day stream and like just make a comic book in 24 hours. That would be amazing. Anyone else here an artist for a living because of Jim Lee? I am not an artist for a living now. Red Room by Ed Piskor. Right, yeah. Ed has the free Comic Book Day Red Room book. That would be cool. I always thought it was in May. It normally is. They pushed it back because we're in a worldwide pandemic. The last of my local comic shops went under last year, so I wouldn't be able to take advantage of Free Comic Book Day this year. That sucks. I'm sorry. Maybe eventually someone else will open something up. Am I doing Inktober this year? Probably not, at least not as a live stream, because if I live stream every day, YouTube actually sort of penalizes people that like live stream every day, because like those videos get watched a lot less than like say a fully edited video. So they actually like go like, oh wow, over the last like several weeks, viewership on this channel has like gone way down. So we're gonna actually stop recommending videos to new viewers. And it can really hurt you. So yeah, no plans to at least live stream it this year. Honestly, like doing these occasional live streams doesn't help the channel too much either, but I like getting to talk to you guys, and it's fun. So I'm like, whatever, I'll take the hit. Wow, thanks, Penguin. One of my favorite artists is Frank Cho. He's very talented, no question. Very talented. Who's your favorite comic book artist of all time? It can be like a current one, or it could have been somebody you grew up with. Do you have a favorite? And if it's something like 2 or 3, you can do that. Like but like, let's see, like who are some favorites and why? Growing up, Frank Miller was one of my favorites, and I hope you can't blame me because, his Daredevil run was amazing. It was so good. I mean, it's still great reading. It really is. He really redefined that character, who had been more of like a Spider-Man clone, like sort of a wisecracking, agile guy who just like fought, low-level weirdos and stuff. And like Frank turned it into a crime comic, and that's what it's been ever since. Like really going up more against guys like Kingpin, or at least similar level crime lords, as well as just day-to-day drug dealers and stuff. I don't know. He really redefined the character in a lot of ways. Alex Ross, Mark Bagley, Neil Adams, John Romita, Alex Ross, another Alex Ross, Carlos Ezquerra, nice. Mike Mignola, Toth is God. I would say out of some of these, like definitely John Romita, Mike Mignola, and Alex Toth are all way high up there. Let's see. Alan Davis, Ross Andrew, Akira Toriyama, Richard Corbin, Gene Colan, John Buscema, Humberto Ramos, Sui Ishida, Jim Lee, John Romita Jr., Daniel Warren Johnson, Trad Moore, Tetsuo Ohara, Carmine Infantino, Alex Ross, Mike Allred, Alan Davis, Michael Lark, John Byrne, Howard Porter. Wow. Really cool seeing, like, so many of these guys I love. All right, let's make it here's how to make it challenging, okay? We all have some of our favorites. Let's limit this. Let's say your favorite female comic book artist. Female comic book artist. I'm going to say mine is possibly Sarah Pichelli. She's pretty well known for doing Miles Morales. But there's definitely some other ones out there that I love. Colleen Duran has done a lot of amazing stuff. Who else? Amanda Connor. She's doing some amazing stuff these days, especially covers and stuff. She really helped redefine Harley Quinn. Yeah, some people still Fiona Staples. Oh, totally. Fiona Staples is awesome. I love Saga. She does great work. I also like Fiona Staples' stuff on Archie. Itagaki Paru. Joelle Jones? Yes. Yes, Joelle Jones is so talented. Oh, okay. Rumiko Takahashi. Hiromu Arakawa. Yeah. Sophie Campbell. Joe Chen. great painted covers. I love Joe Chen's painted covers. Another vote for Fiona Staples. Seems like Fiona Staples might take this. Kate Beaton. Oh my god, I know. Kate Beaton is hilarious. God, I can't get enough of her work. I can't wait till she puts out another book. Another for Hiromu Arakawa. Chika Shiomi. Joelle Jones. Good. I'm glad that we could like switch that to like, female artists, and fortunately still getting lots of really great suggestions. I'm so glad that you guys are like, well versed in all sorts of artists. Sonia Obach's the best in the business. What's she been coloring, Weeby? I would love to know that. That would be good. There've been a lot of great female colorists over the years. All right. Tell you what, I drew this. I think it needs a little bit of color. I think it does. Sana Takeda. Yep. Nicola Scott. Tell you what, we'll do one more round of favorites since everyone really participated so strongly. Like, favorites are tough, but like, people are proud to share what they love, and I love that. Favorite writer. Who's your favorite writer of all time? Doesn't have to be alive right now. Just like wrote even just like one story that made you feel really emotional somehow about, like really, really worked for you. Hernandez brothers, oh, they're so good. They're both. Lily Renee, nice. That's a hard one. Yeah. Writer is definitely a tough one. Good luck. Mark Crilly, huh? Miura, Claremont. Yeah. I get it. What else have we got? Greg Rucka, another Chris Claremont, Grant Morrison, Rachel Pollack, Kurt Vonnegut overall, gotcha. Brian K. Vaughan, totally. Ian M. Banks, Roger Stern, nice. Alan Moore, Ed Brubaker. Boy, I'm all over these choices. Like, yeah, total respect for what's being thrown out here. I love it. I love it. Y'all are well versed in comics because there's a good range of like, types of writers coming in for these recommendations. Alan Moore, Joe Kelly, Chris Claremont, Stan Lee, Jonathan Hickman, Grant Morrison, Michael A. Von Oming. Love Oming. Absolutely. Seems like just a really nice guy, too, Michael A. Von Oming. Like him. Here we go. I've got another, like, sort of favorite that, like, might be tricky. Give me your favorite publisher who isn't Marvel or DC. It could be Image, Dark Horse, IDW, Drawn in Quarterly, Fantagraphics, Shueisha. Give me your favorite publisher that isn't Marvel or DC. That's not going to be easy. I'm seeing, yeah. We've got a Dark Horse as an early contender. Another dark horse, IDW, Boom, sure. I think Boom does some good stuff. I think Dynamite does some good stuff. EC Comics, Scout, IDW, Image, Dark Horse, IDW, all caps comics. Don't know them. I'll have to look that up. Image, Fantagraphics, Draw Jason from Tokyo Ghoul. I've never read Tokyo Ghoul, so I don't know who that is. Sorry. Image and Shueisha. Gold Key, yep. Top Cow, Dark Horse, Fantagraphics. I own a Nick Fury figure they had in their offices. That's awesome. IDW, Avatar, Oni. Oni's good. Top Cow, IDW for real. Shonen Jump, Shueisha. Yeah. Wow. I love that there's so many different answers. I love it. I love it. We're not all the same, but we all respect comics. That's so cool. CrossGen. Yeah, CrossGen was a very interesting experiment. Sometime I mean to do an episode about them. Trying to run it like more like a 9-to-5 office. It was an interesting experiment, and they definitely fielded a lot of amazing talent. A worthwhile, more than an experiment. I mean, it was around for a little while. I think Disney owns them now. I think Disney bought a company that bought them, but I don't remember the exact, but I'm pretty sure that like the characters all belong to Disney now, which is just interesting that Marvel's never decided to use any of them. Albatross, Malibu, CrossGen, Image, Boom, Dell, another CrossGen. CrossGen seemed like the next big thing when I was going to Qbert. Shame it didn't work. Yeah, Harvey. Yeah. Weeby, did you graduate from Qbert, or did you just go for a few years? Always curious to hear about people's experiences going to essentially comic book school. Oni, AWA, yep, Shueisha. Is JoJo ending permanently, or is it just part 8 that's ending? I don't know. Do you have to read all the parts of JoJo to understand each one, or are they kind of independent? Because I'm reading like part 1 and I'm not super into it, to be honest. I don't love the art, and the story's fine, but I don't know that it's for me. Just curious, like, if you have to read each part to understand what comes next, or if it's independent stories when it goes to a new part. I went for 2 of the 3 years to Qbert. I ended up going to another school for 3D modeling and now work in simulation. That's great. That's great. Best decade for comics? That's an interesting question, OHM. I would say I have to choose... Well, look, in terms of, like, you know, comics becoming what they are, you know, like, of course the 30s has to stand out there. That's when comics came into existence, right? And then the 60s is when they were, like, really modernized in a lot of ways. Like, that was, you know, the Silver Age, and Marvel became a thing. But personally, I think for the best overall stories, I'm biased. Maybe I'd choose today, to be honest. But if I had to choose a previous decade, I'd choose the 80s. And yes, that's... a lot of that is emotional and nostalgia because that's when I came up. But, you know, the direct market became a thing. We got Watchmen, Mouse, Dark Knight Returns. Dark Knight Returns. I don't know. The Spider-Man and X-Men were at their peak. New Titans was at its peak. Ninja Turtles came out. The Tick, Usagi Yojimbo. The 80s just had a lot of great books. Mandela Butterfly. Thoughts on Shang-Chi? Any comic tropes on him? I'm excited about Shang-Chi because I just like kung fu movies. So as long as they like forefront some good hand-to-hand combat and don't necessarily go too over the top with special effects, like I'm in. I'm all for, like, you know, grounded martial arts within a, you know, big sci-fi type setting. Like, that can be really cool and somewhat different because we haven't seen lots of kung fu in sort of a sci-fi setting. It's usually just action. I don't know. I hope it's good. I'm excited for it. As far as like any comic tropes on him, I'd have to dig. I'd have to dig for that. It's an interesting question, but not an easy one to answer off the top of my head anyway. Appreciate the challenging question, but I don't have a good answer off the top of my head. I'd have to really give it some thought. Does anyone remember the Malibu Street Fighter comic? No, I didn't read that. Let's see. I own most of the original Shang-Chi run. Bad shape, though. Well, that's still cool that you get to, you know, like have it there to potentially reread. I've read some of the stuff. I liked the Doug Mensch era when he was writing. And who was the artist? Butch Geiss or Jackson Geiss, right? That was definitely a cool era. Jason Voorhees, The Man Without Fear. Exactly right. Exactly right. Where are my grays? Where did I put my gray markers? I don't know. I can't do this without my grays. Oh my god. What did I do with them? Looking for something, folks. Looking for my gray Copics. And I can't seem to find them. Let me see if this one works or if I put it to the side because it's dying. I don't know. It works. Well, start with this. Then I'll take a look up and see what folks are saying. Weeby says, your videos are so enjoyable. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Any chance you'd like to do an artist's exchange? Ink each other's pencils for funsies. Oh, wow. That's an interesting idea. I am not against that idea at all, but I don't think I could commit to it right now because I actually did take some commissions, so I'd really need to get those finished before I could like commit to anything else because I wouldn't want to like have somebody else like waiting on me like long term or anything. So you'd probably have to like follow up with me in like, you know, at least a month just to give me time to finish the things I'm currently working on. Sorry, it's probably not the answer you were hoping I'd have, but I just don't want to commit to something that would really take a long time to get to. I love the idea. Let's see. What else is being asked? I grew up loving John Byrne and Terry Austin X-Men. Yep, totally. They were so good. In the third comic... Okay, people are talking about the Street Fighter comics, I believe, which I am not an expert on, so I'm not going to jump into that one. Somebody's riding a motorcycle outside. Have fun, folks. I think I'd like a motorcycle at some point. I'd have to get my license, but I know how to ride them. Yeah, maybe I want a motorcycle. Just need to make sure that it isn't some sort of weird midlife crisis like driving me to get one. But I don't think so. I think I just like them. Motorcycles are cool. Pandora is watching. Hey, kitty cat. Good for you, Pandora. She's a sweetie. She's a sweetie. Hey, Gene, what do you think of beagles? Do you think that a beagle would be an okay dog for me if I got a dog? You're the expert. They seem to like to go for walks. They're not too big. Short hair. Seem to have a nice disposition. Somewhat trainable. I don't know if they're good at like playing fetch or anything, but mostly I'm looking for a dog that will like just go for walks without yanking on the leash and, you know to stop and stay or sit when I tell him to. Or her. I used to draw a lot. Hand doesn't work as well anymore. It cramps up. Aw. That's too bad. Nothing wrong with a midlife crisis. I might be a little young for getting one at this point, but we'll see. Let's see if this one works. No, that is dead. That is totally dead. I'm going to put that to the side. See what this looks like. Basically the same. If you don't mind a lot of barking. Oh, if my dog barked, I'd simply beat it till it stopped. They can be mischievous. Okay, this is good to know. Thanks, folks. I would never hit any animal, by the way. That was a joke, possibly in poor taste, but it was... If anybody knows me, I'm not going to hit a creature. The humor is that it's absurd to think that I would do that. Absurd. Beagles are loud. Okay. A bunch of people saying that they bark a lot. Okay. Don't necessarily want a dog that barks a lot. That's yeah. It has to be a small dog. Like that's just a rule. Like if Chrissy's like, she's kind of okay with the idea of a dog or getting closer to that, but if we did, it would absolutely have to at least be a small dog. And I want to get a dog, if I get one, to take it on walks. So it has to be like a small dog that still likes going on walks, not like just like a toy that you carry around and stuff. So I don't know what the perfect breed is for me. Maybe there's nothing that crosses both of those things off. I would hope that there is, but I don't know. Cocker Spaniels are very chill. Do they like to go for walks? Because that's what I'm looking for, is like a buddy that I can get out and about and play with it a little bit, you know, at least to take for a walk. I can win over any animal to be a cuddle bug. Blue healers, a stray and a Yorkie. They bark at anything. My childhood dog was a Cocker Spaniel. He was the most aggressive dog I've ever known. Havanese are beautiful dogs. Okay. Not hearing somebody say, you know what the perfect dog for you is, Chris? It's blank. So, looks like I'm still in research mode for a while as to whether I even get a dog. Because it needs to check a few boxes. Could adopt a mutt that is on the smaller side from a shelter. I'm definitely not against that idea at all. A schnauzer. Shinimsol said that they had a Cocker Spaniel that was really sweet. Okay. I think my dad had a Cocker Spaniel when he was a little kid. Maybe that's the kind of dog that's right for me. Maybe I should adopt a mountain lion or a grizzly bear. Are they good pets? How about a rabid raccoon? I could pretend he's Rocket. I could take him to conventions. It's the perfect plan. Nothing could go wrong with this idea. Muggins, yeah, that's it. Mutts are cool. Okay. Yes, De Chef Main, this is supposed to be the video game Hellfire Jason. That's what I'm trying to capture here. So that's what I'm going for. So if that's what it looks like, good. A golden lab named Mr. Peanut Butter. A tiger, like Joe's, adopt a rat. No, I don't like rats, I don't think. A border collie, I would love to get a border collie. That would, if I could adopt any dog, yes, a border collie would be up there. But, two things. It has to be a small dog, and honestly, I'm not at home enough for a border collie. They need to be engaged. They're so smart. They need a lot of playtime, a lot of walk time. I don't have that much. We have a small dog. Chrissy and I could walk, and it would be good for us. But like, yeah, a border collie's too big and too energetic. Get the dog from the Mitchells versus the Machines. Yeah. Labradoodles. I am certain there are some urban deer you could adopt. Thank you. All I need to do is talk to you guys and I get the perfect solutions. I knew I could count on you guys to answer this. This is so great. A Great Pyrenees. Ooh, that sounds big. I don't think that's right for me. I think that sounds too big. But it is nice to see that so many people must be animal lovers that they can come up with these suggestions as compared to just going like, I don't know, figure it out. Now entertain me with a new video. Nobody's saying that. It's nice. Best fictional dog. Probably Scooby-Doo. Some others that are high would be like, you know, Snoopy, Crypto. Who else is a good fictional dog? Lassie. Not Benji, though. Benji, nah, he's a turd. What else? What's a good fictional dog? Cosmo, Guardians of the Galaxy. Lassie. Snowy from Tintin. Snowy's great. Well, I have a cat right now, Weeby. I love cats, but I'm specifically looking at this point for, like, you know, a companion that could really help give me my excuse to keep walking. And dogs are just, they're very loyal and very loving, and you know, I don't have any kids or anything, so it would kind of be nice to have that kind of affection from a creature. And I love cats, but they're not quite affectionate in the same way that a dog is. But I do love cats. And if I don't get a dog for any reason, I would be getting a kitten at some point soon. I'm doing one or the other. I need a new pal, because some of you that have been watching the live stream for a while, like, might have met Milo, or even if I went back far enough, Chibi. But both of my cats have passed on, so, you know, it's been a while, and I like having the responsibility of a pet. I've got my fish, and Chrissy has a cat that, of course, I help take care of, and I love him a lot, but he's very loyal to her. He doesn't really want to hang out with me, so I sort of want my own buddy. Just something I'm thinking about. Just something I'm thinking about a lot. I can leash train Bengal mixed cats for walking. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Probably can't take them for very far, though. They're so small compared to, like, you know, a dog. I don't know. That's an interesting idea. That's a very interesting idea, because I do love cats. I'm very much a cat guy. I am. But I like all sorts of animals. Animals are great. Oh, does anybody read, like, comics that are based on, like, animals? For instance, there's Stray Dogs now, but there's also Beasts of Burden by Evan Dorkin. What else? And Jill Thompson, I believe. What are some other good books that follow, like, animals? We Three by Grant Morrison is fantastic, by the way. If you've never read that, that's, I think, a 3-issue miniseries, if I'm remembering right. We Three is incredible. What other good comics are there that are, like, specifically focused on an animal? And I'm not really thinking, like, of comedy animals like Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck type stuff. I'm wondering if there's, like, good comics we can think of based on, like, a little more serious than that. What am I not thinking of off the top of my head? Battle Pug, okay. Which is, I believe, by my buddy Rafer Roberts, if I'm remembering correctly right now. Beastars, huh? We Three is epic. We Three, yeah. Animal Man, sort of. Black Sad, yeah, that's true. I've discussed Black Sad before. We Three should be a movie. It would be crushing, like Sad. I mean, sort of crushing, sort of hopeful. But I know what you mean. Yeah, We Three is the story of like three pets, a rabbit, a cat, and a dog, who get experimented on by the military, like have their intelligence upgraded and weapons inserted into their bodies, and they escape because they become smart enough to do that and sort of like become a team as the military tries to track them down and recapture them. And basically, they just sort of want to go home. It's basically, yeah, it's heartbreaking, but it's really good. It's really good. Wow, Caveman with a super chat. Thank you. Oh no, my coworker takes her cat for hikes up mountains out here in the Olympic Mountains. Oh, are you up here in the sort of Seattle or at least Pacific Northwest region like me? I do have a buddy here that walks his cat. It's a big, big black cat, and the cat insists on getting taken for walks. So I know that there are cats that do that. X-Men meets Watership Down. Clay, that's a really good way to describe it, actually. It really is. It's a short story, but it's very good. Because, I mean, you instantly have sympathy for, like, these poor animals, you know? You just do. Unless you're a bad person. This is relaxing to color. I just find it relaxing. What other stories can I tell you, though, that like we haven't gone over here before? I feel like so often when I have conversations, something prompts a memory, and I can tell good stories that like make people laugh. But I'm terrible at just out of nowhere, just being the only one like talking and trying to guide the conversation. Like it's tough. Wolf's Rain, Black Cat Walks in Your Path, Rooster Fighter manga, Watership Down, and When the Wind Blows are the two most depressing cartoons ever. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I would say that like Watership Down does sort of have a type of happy ending, even though it's like very tragic along the journey. It's very serious. Isn't there also, speaking of like sad animated movies, what's that one that I'm thinking of? For a minute I thought of Grave of the Fireflies, which sort of counts, but The Last Unicorn, that's a pretty sad one. But I haven't seen that since I was a little kid, so I don't really remember it that well. Hi, bye. Okay. Sounds good to me. Pixie and Brutus is so cute. I want to find the fourth volume of the complete first Howard the Duck run, but I think it's out of print. I don't know. Pride of Baghdad. Yeah. That was a pretty serious one. Isn't that based on a true story? Of like some lions in Iraq that like got loose from the zoo? I'm pretty sure it's based on a true story, but it's been a long time since I read it. But yeah, Brian K. Vaughan, he can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. The Wind Rises is a bittersweet film. Okay. Any Invincible stories? Invincible stories. I don't think so. Nothing really leaps to mind as like a good story about like Invincible. But if you haven't read it, it's definitely a good book. I recommend it. Maybe I should do an episode about it. You're not putting a second color on the chain? Not quite yet. maybe in a minute. Cool thing about alcohol-based markers is you can do layers. I felt very slow because of how long it took me to make the connection between Y the Last Man and the Y chromosome. It's okay. It's always good to discover new things when you're reading. Like, you don't have to discover it all in the first reading, right? Can I ask your opinion on crossover? I only read the first issue. Interesting premise. Haven't kept up with it. Just been too busy. Seems interesting, though. Yeah, seems worthwhile. Which DC and Marvel characters do you wish had a crossover comic? Sort of lucked out with Avengers JLA and Superman Spider-Man. No, what other characters would work really well together? I bet you could tell an interesting story with, like, Wonder Woman and Thor. Like, get into, like, sort of the mythology or something. Not that anyone's demanding that or anything, but I just bet it wouldn't be too hard to come up with a good story using both of them. Plus, Diana's probably worthy of lifting Mjolnir. I don't know. What about, like, something like Suicide Squad up against the Thunderbolts, you know? Like, just villains up against villains, but, like, for, you know, either heroic or government-related purposes. I could sort of see that being an interesting story. Villains versus villains. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think that, like, Suicide Squad versus Thunderbolts would be a blast. Have something where, like, the Thunderbolts go into some sort of unstable region to keep the peace. They're former villains trying to be good, but like it's not in the U.S. government's interest, so they send in the Suicide Squad to stop them. So you've sort of got, like, even though they're working for the government, the Suicide Squad's kind of the bad guys, and the Thunderbolts are, like, the former bad guys pretending to be good. That could be fun, right? I don't know, I'm just brainstorming. Thinking of the JLA Avengers can make me a little depressed knowing George Perez had to retire due to failing eyesight. I mean, yeah, it is sad, but that was going to happen at some point no matter what, and he did it, you know? He got that comic out, and it was really fun. Venom, symbiotes versus Starro. Yeah, I think the more I think about it, like, villain versus villain is a very easy story to make entertaining. So maybe I'm not coming up with anything that interesting. I don't know. I feel like, you know what, like, if you went magic, like, you know, Doctor Strange could go into the multiverse almost by himself and go up against almost anybody. And that could be interesting. But these are things that probably don't have enough appeal to warrant the two companies working together. Because it would have to get both of them a tremendous amount of money to make them, like, make them willing to talk to one another right now. I just don't think it's realistic, but it is fun to daydream about. Hulk fought Batman once. Yeah, it's good. Perez was the best in the business at drawing multiple characters. He really was quite good. I agree with you there. I need a second green for what I'm about to attempt. We'll see if this one works. Doctor Strange versus Zatanna. Doctor Strange Constantine. Ooh, I like that. What about characters set in the future or something like, you know, Spider-Man 2099 meets like the Legion or something like that. I don't know. I guess that timelines don't quite work out there. But it would be interesting to see something along those lines. It's fun to brainstorm this kind of stuff. I don't really have these nerdy conversations normally. Alright, Jeans. Hope it goes well tomorrow. Good for you for volunteering. Stay safe. My sister works in the healthcare industry. Definitely, even though she's vaccinated and masked up, you know, I can't help but worry about my sister these days a little bit. But I'm proud of her, helping people. Judge Dredd and Punisher 2099. I don't think Punisher 2099 is that interesting, but I like where your head is at. Like, I'm not against the idea completely. Judge Dredd works well against somebody that's otherwise kind of fascist, and you contrast him. You know, like, you think Batman's bad? Well, Judge Dredd is much worse, and he makes Batman look more heroic by comparison. Or if you had Judge Dredd go up against the Punisher, all of a sudden Judge Dredd wouldn't necessarily seem so bad. So they're always interesting to contrast characters like that. Gremlins versus Iron Man. There you go. Oh yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy are in the future. That's true. That's true. Good thinking. Lincoln, Lincoln, I've been thinking. What the hell have you been drinking? Alright, here's a hypothetical for you. Would you rather have the funding to self-publish your own comic and hire, you know, either a writer, an artist, you know, letterer, etc. Like, have the funding to do that, or be given access to any existing title at, say, like, you know, Marvel or DC. Like, which would you rather have? The ability to do your own story, paid for, or work on any character that you choose. No limits. None. Predator versus Punisher. Well, Punisher would definitely win that. Kang versus Monitor. Now, there was no Lobo Punisher crossover to my memory. I don't think I can think of anything like that taking place. Good question, though. I do an educational comic, so my own. Cool. Total creative freedom, yeah. make one's own, funding to self-publish my own stuff. Okay, most people are choosing their own stuff. That's awesome, dudes. Santa Claus versus Cupid. Okay, Spider Jerusalem from Transmetropolitan versus Batman from Dark Knight Returns. I'm having fun doing this, folks. Thanks for being here with me so that I feel motivated to keep going. This means a lot to me. Good question. That's all I do is ask good questions. That's why I'm a great interviewer. I would love to have a little more time to do more interviews. I'd love to talk to some of the like modern writers today that are like popular, like, you know, Scott Snyder, for instance. Like, I'd really love to bend his ear for an episode. Love to talk to Daniel Warren Johnson. There's a lot of guys that I'd love to talk to, and gals, just to be clear. A lot of folks that I'd love to talk to. If I had more time to do my show, like if I did this full time, I think what I'd do is I'd do like a Comic Tropes episode one week and an interview the next week and sort of alternate something like that with the occasional sort of like live stream or something like that. That's probably what I would do if I had more time. But an interview is like an easier edit, but it's also a big lift for scheduling because of my limited availability. That's the thing that prevents me from easily doing those. But I love doing interviews, and I think that that's like another great way to learn about comics, not just my analysis, but like, you know, asking introspective questions about how somebody approaches their work or why they do things this way instead of another way. Not just what's coming up, what do they remember doing, like really like ask them about the creative process. That's what I'd love to be able to do. This pen tip, I don't know what it would be for millimeters, sorry. It's somewhat thick, so I have to sort of like, you know, be a little gentle along the edges, but it seems to work with me pretty well. It really flows nicely. That pen looks fat. Well, let's try not to be too judgmental. We don't know what this pen's been through. Could be genetics. Could just be the way this pen was made. Okay? I know what people always enjoy. A round of impressions. That's right. You give me any character or actor, and I'm willing to do a flawless impression tonight. Because I can duplicate any voice if I hear it but once. So the only prerequisite is I have to know who that character is. Or actor. Pencil lead? Whatever happened to pencil follow? Thank you, Robotacular. You've made this a much better evening with that. It looks unwieldy. It's fun. Don't worry. It's fun. Es bueno. Nick Cage. Put the bunny rabbit down. Perfect. Nicolas Cage. Walken. I'm Christopher Walken. Yeah, see, he usually goes around saying his own name, so I nailed that one. Starscream! That's not easy on the throat, but I nailed it as usual. Megatron! Megatron! Oh, you're not Megatron, you're Skywarp. I need a new prescription on these glasses. Perfect. Perfect. I'm always proud to nail things like that. It really gives me self-confidence that I've got skills. Skills that no other mortal can quite duplicate. And, you know, maybe someday I should put it to use. But for now, it'll just be in service of entertaining you, dear viewer. Just doing it perfect. Oh, yeah! Macho Man! No, I know. Bonesaw is ready! Perfect. Perfect. I'll just compliment myself since I know that if you guys were here right next to me, that's what you'd be saying. So I'll just hand it to myself just to make life a little easier. I understand that you can't be here to tell me that I nailed it. So don't worry. Iron Shoe. Seinfeld? What's the deal with Myla? If it protects a comic so well, why don't they wrap up the whole airplane with it? What's the deal? George, you stole my comics. Why would you steal my comics? What's the deal? Nick Cage doing Luke Cage. Sweet Christmas. Nailed it. Nailed it. What would Stardust the Super Wizard sound like? He'd probably just sound like kind of dull and just be like, I forbid you to shoot. Now I'm going to take you to an alien prison where you will suffer for the rest of your days. Get ready for it. He wouldn't sound like anything too interesting. He'd just sort of fly in, punish somebody, fly on out, get ready to do it all over again. Stardust is a super jerk. Have I read Gumby's Winter Fun Adventure? No. Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart. Sir Patrick Stewart. I don't understand why people won't listen to my orders. Damn it, I'm Patrick Stewart. I'm in charge here. And I'm doing a perfect impression of myself. It was actually me, folks. That was actually me, not Patrick Stewart. He wasn't hanging out back here. I did it. Yeah. Proud of that one. That one maybe should be on my tombstone someday. Here lies Chris. Nailed a Patrick Stewart impression. Nailed a Patrick Stewart impression. Wow. That's good. I mean, I know it's not good to sort of brag or toot your own horn, but when you nail it, you nail it. These are good. Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott. Hey folks, Sam Elliott here. Have you had your whiskey today? I'm Sam Elliott, and I believe you should have a bottle of whiskey every morning for breakfast. And don't shave that mustache of yours. You've worked way too hard to get it where it is. Conan the Barbarian. He goes like, to cross your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women. I kind of got like Romanian there. It was almost right. I'd have to practice that one a little. I'd give myself my lowest rating ever. 9 out of 10 thumbs. Keep working on it. They need to make a comic about Fraser Crane. Oh my god, I'm first in line to work on that one. Oh really, Niles? You were supposed to take Dad out on his walk, Niles. You son of a bitch. Oh, Fraser. Oh. Keith Richards conversing with Ozzy Osbourne. Hey, it's me. It's Keith. Oh, it's me. It's Ozzy. Oh, oi. Which one of us is talking now? Oh, I can't remember exactly. I can't quite... I don't know. That's 11 out of 10 thumbs. Are you going to EC Comic-Con? Is that Emerald City Comic-Con? Maybe. Let's, when we get closer, see what the Pacific Northwest is doing for vaccination rates. I'm vaccinated, but with this Delta variant surging and showing that, like, you know, even people that are, what do you call it, like vaccinated can get it. And also, like, kids can get it now, which is really terrifying. Kids are getting the Delta variant. Like, the only saving grace of COVID was that at least kids seem to have, like, a built-in resistance to easily letting the virus attach to them. But this new Delta variant is way more contagious, and even little kids are getting it and dying from it. So that's a little scary. I don't necessarily want to spread something like that to kids, even if I myself am immune. So we'll see. If for some reason, like, vaccination rates are really strong in Seattle by the time the convention happens, then yeah, I would consider going to it. But if it's bad, I'll probably bow out. We'll see. Ooh, Mark Hamill Joker. Ooh, I talk like this. I don't know. Wow, nice colors. You're a nice color. Thank you. You guys are great. Let's see here. I think I'm just about done with what I want to accomplish on this. Do a little bit more, but I think I've kind of got it, like, laid out the way I want it to be. Hope that makes sense. Thanks for all the suggestions for impressions. If I didn't get to yours, it was only because I missed it and I probably couldn't actually do it. Because I know that my impressions aren't actually very good. But I'm always happy to try. Happy to try, happy to fail, happy to get a lunch pail. Isn't that how the poem goes? Happy to try, happy to fail, happy to get a lunch pail. By the famous poet, laureate, Angela Lansbury. She wrote it in 1946, and it's as true today as it was back then. Try today, try to fail, eat your lunchbox in a pail. Did I get it right? Eat your lunchbox. That's definitely not what I said. Oh well. Yeah, I think that pretty much does it. If I was going to do anything else, I might have just tried to go for a more artistic look for something like this. For instance, I'm not really getting any sort of background, and I'm not getting anything about like Crystal Lake, but if I had done sort of like, some trees, some evergreen trees here, and then sort of made maybe like Jason only fits within the silhouette of the trees, or I did the trees like reflecting in what do you call it, like a in the Crystal Lake, at night, like, or at dusk. That could have been interesting. So you could have like done some interesting things with like, I think, trees, and possibly with like a reflection. I think that would have been interesting. But I wasn't really thinking ahead. I was just trying to think of like kind of a cool Jason, like rawr. Let me see if I can zoom in at all and show you any more detail here. Oh, I did get a new webcam for my birthday a few days ago, so I still need to sort of play around with that. There. Now I've sort of zoomed in a little bit more just so that you can sort of see a little bit more of the detail. Maybe that looks alright. I don't know. Thanks everybody for joining me for a live stream, helping me celebrate Friday the 13th. I always like to do something for Friday the 13th. In the past, it's been parties. This time, I decided to draw something and spend some time with all of you, which was really, really fun. It means a lot to me. Thank you for the super chats. That really means a lot. Thank you for just spending time with me, though. And I'll have some more episodes soon. Should I tell you what I'm working on next? You can vote. Like, we'll take a vote. If more people say yes than no, I'll tell you what I'm working on. But if more people say no, I'll keep it a surprise. So you go ahead. Do you want to know what I'm working on for next episode? It's one I've gotten a lot of requests for over the years. And I've meant to do it, but it took me a long time to find my angle on what I wanted to talk about this creator. Really appreciate the stream. Well, I appreciate you guys. It looks good. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. It means a lot to me. Okay. Yes. 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 Oh, wow. Thanks, Chris Sears. Super chat. Oh, and Caveman too. Thank you for hosting, Chris. It is always fun to work on art with someone else. Thanks for drawing. Somebody says no. Another yes. And that's from a member, so they're paying to support. Another yes. I don't like to watch people work, but you do good work. Well, that's nice of you. Hopefully, like, we can at least have a conversation and get to, like, talk about comics and fun stuff like that. It's like we're just hanging out. It's fun to spend time with you, Chris. Another yes. He hasn't even asked the question yet. No, I did ask the question. I asked, do you want me to tell you who I'm working on as my next topic? And I feel like I got more yeses, so only you guys will know, or anybody else that like watches this stream later, but yeah, not too many people will know, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling it for too many people. You can like always close your ears now if you don't want to know, okay? So the next one I'm doing an episode on is Sam Keith. I want to talk about how he came up with, like, his own creator-owned book, The Max, which was huge. He'd started doing like more indie stuff and like came up with Sandman and stuff, and then he sort of disappeared for a while. Why did he disappear? Then he came back. So I think I want to talk a little bit about, like, what makes his work so unique. It definitely stands out within mainstream superhero comics as like very different, I think. So I think that's one that I'm going to talk about. So yeah. Thank you for being with me on Friday the 13th, folks. And yeah, I'm going to take off now. I want you to keep reading comics. Me, I'll also keep reading comics because that's what I like to do. It's what I like everybody to do. I hope you have fun at Free Comic Book Day if you go do that tomorrow. other than that, stay safe. Wear a mask these days, folks. Try to keep each other safe, right? I think it's important. I know you are. All right, people saying some really nice things. There's a little bit of a delay. I'm going to take off now. It meant a lot to me that you were here with me tonight. So take care, everybody. Keep reading comics.